In London's marble-veined Lancaster House, a whisper is echoing louder than any speech. It travels from Beijing's hushed corridors to Washington's alert war rooms. It bends the yield curves of US treasuries, rattles the rare earth stockpiles of Perth, and sways the futures of semiconductors in Taipei. It is not just about tariffs, it is about Xi Jinping, the man who centralized an empire, flattened the party under his thumb, and cast himself as the architect of a new China, now faces the most unnerving question of all. What happens if he disappears? Welcome to FluxFolio Finance, where beneath each financial headline, we seek the pattern, the poetry, and the peril. As of June 2025, the US-China trade truce rests on a trembling 90-day pause. Tariffs, once sky-high, now simmer at 30% on US imports and 10% on China's retaliations. Rare earths hang in the balance. Semiconductors pulse through the negotiation lines. But behind every clause, every handshake, every draft paragraph, there is the looming uncertainty of Xi's future. His absence from the public eye, now exceeding 11 days, has ignited rumors: illness, military dissent, internal revolt. While speculative, the fragility of leadership in an opaque regime casts shadows over every financial bet and political equation. So let us speculate with structure. Scenario 1. The loyalist continuity. If Xi is replaced by a loyalist like Premier Li Qiang or technocrat Chen Jining, China's policy direction may remain steady on the surface. The Politburo's alignment ensures continuity, but without Xi's personal authority, compliance weakens. The rare earth restrictions, which re-emerged in May 2025, could tighten again. US concerns on fentanyl precursors could be sidelined. The consultation mechanism established in May falter. Even more, the personal rapport between Xi and Donald Trump, a bizarre but functioning back-channel, would vanish. Trade would devolve into bureaucracy, not breakthrough. Scenario 2. The reformist reset, a more unlikely but seismic shift, would be a reformist rise, perhaps from remnants of the Hu Jintao or Jiang Zemin camps. Here, China could soften its state-heavy economic model, give ground on subsidies, open up rare earths and tech exports, and re-engage global markets. This could reinvigorate the trade deal. But transitions of this scale are never smooth. The post-Mao era of 1976 serves as a historical warning. Instability delays diplomacy. Reform opens doors, but chaos delays the handshake. So what are the impacts on the global economy? Global markets move not on facts, but on fear and faith. The May tariff pause boosted the Dow 3%, but a leadership crisis that could erase weeks of gains. Posts on X already suggest a 2% Asian equities dip linked to Xi's absence. A yuan devaluation could follow. GDP projections, already weak at 4.8%, IMF 2024, would decline further. Fragility is contagious. A leadership vacuum is a super spreader. Supply chains, already under stress from 145% semiconductor tariffs, could collapse. From Detroit to Delhi, delays and price hikes would ripple outward. A nationalist successor might escalate export controls. A liberalizer might do the opposite. But in both cases, change equals uncertainty. This might be the inflation trigger Goldman Sachs warned in May 2025. Pre-pause tariffs raised US consumer prices by 0.5%. A failed truce or a power vacuum in Beijing could push inflation up globally. Electronics, apparel, pharma, the core of consumption would feel the squeeze. Every disrupted shipment could be a spark in the inflation powder keg. The geopolitical reverb Xi's exit, orderly or not, would alter the Great Divide. Western alliances, NATO, AUKUS, might use the moment to tighten sanctions, exploit China's vulnerability, and force trade shifts. Russia, tethered to Chinese cash amid sanctions, could wobble. A pro-Western Chinese leader might cut energy ties to Moscow. A hardliner might deepen them. Either way, the Sino-Russian axis shifts. Taiwan, long the flashpoint of the Indo-Pacific, enters limbo. Will a successor de-escalate or rally nationalism through aggression? ASEAN nations may hedge. Japan, Korea, India, they will recalculate. The global Souths gamble Africa, Latin America, Southeast Asia. Regions dependent on Chinese investment may face project freezes, capital pullouts, and policy paralysis. The Belt and Road could stall. Infrastructure dreams could dry up overnight. And in this pause, nations like India and Brazil may fill the void, rebalancing global economic centers. The fragile future, if Xi stays, the current trade truce may hold, tenuous, transactional, but alive. If he goes, three things become true. 1. The US-China deal will stall or fracture. 2. Inflation, market volatility, and global rebalancing will accelerate. 3. The era of predictable China is over. Whether replaced by a shadow of himself, a bureaucratic heir, or a reformist rebel, Xi's absence represents a hinge moment for the 21st century. This isn't just regime change. It's a re-scripting of globalization. So watch the yuan. Watch the rare earth flows. Watch every word from Lancaster House, because beneath them all lies the real question. When empires shift in silence, do we hear the collapse or the beginning of something new? History reminds us that when a nation binds itself too tightly to a single man, it creates a brittle foundation. From Napoleon's France to Stalin's Soviet Union, and more recently to Venezuela under Chávez, centralized power offers control, but at the cost of resilience. When Napoleon fell at Waterloo, the empire he built collapsed into chaos. When Stalin died, the Soviet system stumbled for decades trying to recalibrate. In each case, the overconcentration of power made the system strong in war, but weak in peace, and weaker still in succession. China under Xi may be facing the same trap. By removing term limits, sidelining rivals, and centralizing authority, Xi has made the party's machinery efficient but inflexible. Without him, decisions stall. Loyalty fractures. Policy becomes guesswork. And that fragility is not just political. It is economic. It is geopolitical. It is global. So, while the world wonders whether Xi stays or goes, the deeper lesson echoes. No nation should be built on one voice alone. Because when that voice goes silent, the silence doesn't bring peace. It brings the reckoning. This is FluxFolio Finance. Stay sharp, stay thoughtful, and stay ahead